Welcome, everybody. My name is Shannon Desilets. I carry a few hats here with Choose Love in New Hampshire. I am Community Wellness Administrator out of the Department for Health and Human Services Behavioral Health Division and Program Director of the Choose Love Movement. Prior to that, I worked for 5 years out of Governor Sununu's office. And through my time over the last now almost 6 years, this is how Choose Love for Corrections was created. And a beautiful thing that came out of New Hampshire. Huge thank you to New Hampshire Department of Corrections and also our partner CAST. CAST, for those who do not know, our Universal Design for Learning. I like to think of Choose Love as the program being the car, the automobile, and CAST as the wheels. And that takes us in and makes it possible to bring it in for all varied learning styles and inside prisons. And this has been a project that has just truly touched me in watching this evolve. And in addition to that, for the Choose Love movement, I am program director of Choose Love for Corrections. And through this work, I have been very blessed to meet Garry, who's with us today, down at a facility in Miami. So Miami was the first facility to bring this outside of New Hampshire. So Garry, thank you so much for being here. We
Thank you
have
for
so
having me.
much gratitude for you. Please go ahead and share about yourself.
Well, as stated before, thank you for having me. I'm glad to be a part of this. I am a 17-year veteran of the Department of Corrections, but on the wrong side. Um, with that being said, I've gone through a lot. I've experienced a lot of negativity in the Department of Corrections on both sides, inmates and staff. But it's been a journey. There's been a lot going on, but I've always tried to maintain a positive outlook on things and to keep myself as positive as possible throughout all the situations. It's not always, I'm not gonna lie and say it was 100%, it happened every time, but as much as possible, I try to maintain positivity and spread that throughout all the encounters that I've had with staff and the inmates. It was this Choose Love program was brought to us by Miss Shannon and yourself and Mr. Dave. And it was very intriguing because the incident that happened, when it happens and you see it on TV, it's big and it's got your attention. But then as the years go by, it kind of fades back. So when you all came and she showed the film and everything, the presentation, and it was like, oh, I remember that. But it hits harder and it hits home when you have the mother present and you can feel her story, not just see it and hear it, but you can feel the realness coming from out of her. And it really resonated within me. And it was something that I knew that I wanted to be a part of. And I'm grateful for the opportunity. And here we are today.
Here we are today. Yes, I'll never forget that first time when I brought Scarlett down with Dave. Huge thank you to Dave Doty, who was just determined to make this happen and brought this to your facility through his work at MTC, and just very passionate about his work and tremendous gratitude for him. And when we were down there for that first time and in the cafeteria, right, standing room only, it was packed.
Right.
And hearing Scarlett share her story, for me, it's always so moving to witness how that impacts you all. And when you would, afterwards, people came up to Scarlett, it's always very moving. I'm going to be honest with you, Garry, I have yet to leave one of the facilities without tears in my eyes through this program, because I think what Choose Love does has the power to get to the heart and allows us all to be authentic and vulnerable. And that's not easy sometimes, right? It takes courage to be vulnerable. And
Right.
it's just been a remarkable thing to witness. And so take us back to that. So seeing Scarlett, so what really motivated you to participate in the program, would you say? What drew you to want to do it?
Well, As I said, I've gone through a lot of negative situations throughout my time of incarceration, and I've tried to maintain a positive outlook. And when Miss Shannon, when you all came and you presented this to us, it was like, this is something that can help to change. Like if this had been present while I was going through what I was going through, maybe things would have been different. Maybe things would have been different for myself and for a lot of other guys and staff. And this is a really much needed vehicle. Much needed, much needed. I think it will do great in the Department of Corrections, and not just there, but in schools and anywhere that it touches. I think it's just going to explode and change lives.
Yeah, absolutely, Gary. Thank you. And so for those listening or watching who aren't aware, so Choose Love, we have programming for schools, homes, communities, athletes and coaches, and now Choose Love for Corrections. In addition to that, also Choose Love for Caregivers, which is designed for foster caregivers and workers in the field. And through the Choose Love for Corrections piece, what will be growing from this program as well is programming for staff. And then in addition to that, programming for families. So loved one to those who are incarcerated to learn, at the same time as their loved ones, to help hopefully with that reintegration piece or help with family engagement piece, and just really help foster healthy, strong relationships. And, you said something that really stood out. And had I had this going through what I did, maybe life would have taken another path. And I hear that time and time again. It doesn't matter what facility I am in and whether it's men's or women's facility. So thank you for sharing that. And one of the things about the program, Gary, that people may not know is that it's peer facilitated. And that to us was very important. You, from your perspective, can you share with us why you feel that is important?
Sure. As an inmate myself, when you hear things, you hear information presented to you from an outside source, okay, that's one thing. But when you hear it presented from, one of your own, it hits home a lot closer, and you can feel it more because you can relate. You know that this person that's giving you this information can relate to you. You know that they've been in your shoes, they've walked the same steps that you walk. So it's different. And I agree with this way of doing things. I do.
Yeah, thank you. What I remember visiting a facility here in New Hampshire, and it was during a choose love lesson. And I was out in the little lobby area, and a man walked out and tears in his eyes. And he said, I've never had a friend until now. So that space created for you all. And when we talk about safety, it's not just physical safety, it's psychological safety too, right? And we need to feel safe to be able to share. And it takes courage to be vulnerable and to share our stories. And I think there's just something that cannot be replicated that comes out of that in these developmental circle style classes led by a peer facilitator. And it truly stood out to us, to both Scarlett and me, when we attended the graduation or celebration at the end of completion for Choose Love, how impactful you were as a facilitator. We heard it from other residents, but then also when you got up and spoke, it was just absolutely eloquent and beautiful. And I just truly thank you for saying yes to something that's never been done before down there. That can be a little scary, facilitating something that you don't have a model to go by. And you said yes. And I'm just truly appreciative of that. And what was also beautiful for me was witnessing your family members there celebrating you, and just how much love and pride they have for you. And, I have a feeling inside that this is just simply the beginning, Gary.
Yes.
And we look forward to doing much more with you and Choose Love. And so you talked about what led you to say yes to the program. Can you describe your experience going through this each week as a
Well,
facilitator?
as I was the peer facilitator for this inaugural program here, it did take courage, which is one of the four core values for Choose Love. Because as you said, this is something that's never been done. So I wasn't really sure what it's supposed to look like, or how it would be received from a bunch of quote unquote hardened criminals. I don't want to put that title on them, but a bunch of tough guys or whatever. And the classroom was very how do I want to describe it? There were young guys, there were middle-aged guys, there was a big mix, there was a big blend of people. So it was people from all kinds of demographics. There were, Hispanic guys, there were African American guys, there were Caucasian guys. Everybody was present. And to get, I haven't walked in an Asian American shoes. I haven't walked in a Caucasian American shoes. So I don't know their journey. I don't know everything, about their story, but I have to present something in a way that it relates to all these different groups. And so that was another challenge. How do I present it to where everybody can relate and where everyone can receive what I'm saying? And I don't want to present it in a way where it's boring. I want to, because if it's boring, then you'll start to lose people.
Yeah.
So the challenge was also to make it kind of fun, to make it catchy, to where guys will learn, well, they'll want to learn, and to not just give them all the information, but give them examples as well, to where they figure stuff out as you're going, instead of just reading out of a textbook per se, to make it where they kind of figure things out. So, and it was also very informative. I like the information that we did receive from you all. I would take that information, I would do my own research and kind of mix it in and give it to the guys. And we learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself, and all of the guys present learned a lot about themselves as well. So it was a real good experience.
That's so great to hear. Thank you. What do you think? Like, what's one thing that stood out for you, if you feel like sharing, in terms of learning a lot about yourself? Like, if there was just one thing that might stand out.
Through this Choose Love program, I've always been kind of a people person per se, but like I've always been one to where I'll help you, but when it comes to me needing help, I was always, oh, I'm good, I'm fine, everything's great, But going through this program, if I wanted I understood that if I wanted them to share, then I would open up. So anytime we would go through any lessons or anything, I would always lead with personal examples, so they would feel comfortable sharing as well. It's not just, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And I'm not giving, I'm not just taking and not giving, but I would give first and give freely. And I
Right.
think that helped out a lot. That opened a lot of guys up to expressing their feelings.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that, right? When a peer can show up and be vulnerable, you create that safe space for others to feel safe to open up as well. And then I'm sure over as the weeks went by, the group probably gelled even more and
Yeah.
developed, grew even more.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Have you heard from some of the other guys, like some of the impact they felt within themselves, or has perspective within themselves shifted?
I have a lot of guys that and these are guys that I will walk around the facility and I may head nod or just speak in passing, but I never really took the time to get to know. But going through this class, now I'm getting to know a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And now instead of just hey, what's up? And I would say, hey man, how's you going? How's your day doing? How's your family doing? Everything all right? You good? It's more of a camaraderie now. It's more of a familiarity with more people now. And one thing that I've noticed and I'm proud of, I see a lot of people still walk around with these bands on.
Yay!
I see a lot of the guys still wearing that. So that means a lot, because it's not just something that you gave them and they just threw it away or set it aside, but they're making a conscious decision to wear this and display this. And when people ask them about it, they're going to be able to tell them and give them their version of it. So that was
Exactly.
pretty good.
Oh, that's awesome. And that visual reminder, right? Too, seeing it day in and day out. It's a visual reminder with the Choose Love formula right on there. So for those that don't know, the Choose Love formula includes courage, gratitude, forgiveness, and compassion and action. And I love hearing that. I love hearing the bands are being worn and the camaraderie, because that, from a DOC perspective, from a Department of Corrections perspective, if that kind of camaraderie and relationship building is happening, then the climate within the facility, right,
Yes.
improves.
Yes.
So that's outstanding. That's outstanding, and I'm just looking forward to hearing continued stories and learning more. Were there any specific lessons that you felt really hit home,
Um,
stood
there
out?
was the gratitude.
Mhm.
Really, really for me, the big thing, which is something that I was taught from my father and from people, just lessons, life lessons in general, perspective. I think, and I keep reiterating that over and over again, but perspective is a really big thing. And once you can get people to see things not just from their perspective, but from the next person's perspective, and you get to see how they view things, and maybe you get a small glimpse into what's life like for them. Maybe you'll have compassion,
Yeah.
and it may change your whole outlook on the situation just by changing your perspective. So for me, that was a really big lesson, perspective.
Yeah, thank you for that. It's always great for me to hear, what really hits for people, because this program has really evolved through conversations just like this I have with the residents, and learning and hearing from them, or what improvements they think could be made. And sitting down with speaking with residents here at the New Hampshire Department of Corrections, we added lessons after those conversations because of what they told me. So this is just, I hope you all know, those that are doing this in the very beginning stages, the ripple effect that you all will have, not just for today,
That was
but
another big one.
endless
Really
years
big
to
thing.
come. Yeah, right. Because you're touching the lives of the men in the class and their families, and that, so it carries on. And it's just amazing when you think about that ripple effect that we can all have. And how do you find now, after completing the program, are you finding yourselves incorporating some of the lessons into your daily life, perspective you just shared? That sounds,
Definitely.
yeah,
That perspective and the ripple effect, those are two big things for me. But these are things that, when I see, I may see an argument or something going on right there, and I may step to a guy and pull him to the side later on, once everything's cooled down, and try to get him to see it from the other person's perspective. And a lot of times the common response is, man, I didn't see it like that.
yeah,
And that's okay. That's something we all, in the heat of the moment, we all don't necessarily take the time to stop and think and consider the other person's perspective. But if you put it into practice and you continue to do it over and over and over again, then it becomes second nature.
yeah,
So it's just something that you got to work on. But for me, perspective and the ripple effect, showing guys how because a lot of people, they think that, okay, I came to prison, that's just me. But it's not just you. You have a mother, a father, sisters, children, aunts, uncles, just a plethora of people that look up to you and love you, and it's impacted their lives as well, and the quality of their lives. And my little brother, my younger brother, I don't want to call him my little brother, he's almost 30, but he's revealed to me that my incarceration definitely impacted his upbringing, because he's a baby boy. So, and we're only the two boys, one at the beginning, one at the end. I'm the oldest. So they wanted to really kind of make sure that he didn't get into any trouble. You know what I mean? So they kind of tightened down a little bit on him. more than they were with me. So he expressed that to me, that my incarceration and my actions definitely affected his upbringing.
Yeah, and that took courage for him to open up and share that too, right? And
Yes.
yeah, and do you feel like that's enriched your relationship with him to be able to have those honest conversations?
Yes, because it was something that I never would have known and I never really considered until he revealed that to me. Like
Yeah,
I was thinking of myself, my daughters, of course, and my mom, dad, because I can see things from them, but my siblings, they kind of hold things to themselves. My younger sisters, my little brother. So for them to reveal these things, mom and dad are always going to tell you, they're going to cry and let you know how they're feeling, what they're going through. But the siblings are kind of just, be strong, big bro, hold your head up. But for him to express that to me was a real big thing. And it made me also stop and consider the rest of my siblings' feelings. It made me open up other conversations with them as well.
yeah. And is that something that's grown since doing this program? Like for within yourself, like stopping and thinking about those and having more of those conversations?
Yes, definitely. Through all of the lessons that we've gone through, I go through them with my siblings and my mom.
That's great.
So yes. So we all went through it together. I give them a brief version of everything that we learned, but they're learning the same things as well. And I'm hoping that they apply it. And also, actually, my family just came to visit me last weekend, and they are now proud wearers of the Choose Love band as well. So
Ah,
yes, it's definitely impacting more people than just myself.
that gives me
That's good.
goosebumps. Happy to hear that. And I would love to be in touch too if they want to have a part in helping co-create, the program for families,
Okay,
coming
sure.
from the perspective would be great. Um, that gives me goosebumps. You're living, breathing the program. There's something about Choose Love. It's not just okay from this date to this date. It's Choose Love. This is essential life skills that we carry with us for the rest of our lives.
Right,
And we're going to fumble. We're going to make mistakes. We're human. Congratulations. That's how we learn and grow.
right.
But it's definitely something I know for me, even personally, going through challenging periods in my life, that I'm just so grateful now to have the Choose Love formula to really help me through those times. And boy, I look back on other points in my life where I wish I had this prior, or just instilled in this from the very beginning when my son was born. He's now 23. But yeah, thank you for sharing that and the impact that that also has on the family. That's it's beautiful, right? We say we can probably never measure the actual success of just this one class that happened. And that's just outstanding. Now we're talking about a lot of the great stuff that happened. Were there any challenging times, any challenging weeks, or any challenging things that came up?
Well, there were some of the lessons that were kind of difficult. I can't remember off the top of my head, but there were maybe one or two that might have been difficult to present in a kind of fun, interesting kind of way, to where the guys would understand. So there were a couple lessons where I was kind of losing them a little bit, but and we have the relationship where we began to eventually gain a relationship to where at the end of the class, end of every class, I would ask them, hey, how can we make these classes better? How can we make them more effective? Did you like it? Did you learn anything? And at first they would be quiet and they were just ready to go. Oh,
Yeah.
everything was great. All right, class over, let's go. But eventually, weeks after week, they started participating more and they would give me feedback and they would tell me, hey, listen, this lesson was great. Maybe we can touch on this again the next one. Sure. Or this lesson was so. Maybe we can change a little bit. And okay, how? And then I would get more feedback from them. So it helped me a lot as well in preparation for the next week.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed it.
That's great. And that's a sign of a great leader right there, Garry. We're taking the time and wanting to hear from them and modifying where it's needed for the group, because every group's going to have different needs, different personalities. So it sounds like you did everything the exact right way. And they're fortunate to have you for sure. And, for me, hearing you and every time in a facility, it's a learning opportunity for me. And I think as someone who was the facilitator, as a leader, we are not that it was like teacher-student relationship, but it was peer. But from those in the class as participants, they often become our teachers too, right? By hearing what they're saying. Is there anything that might, and you've touched upon some of this before, but and going along with the thought of, did you as a facilitator, excuse me, I need more coffee this morning, become a student? Were you able to learn from them? Or is there something that you gained by facilitating this that you can carry forward?
Yes. During a few of the lessons, I would present information and material, and then they would give feedback in the class. And there were times where, speaking on perspective, I would present it one way, and then you would have a guy that would say, well, what about if you look at it like this? And then I stop and think about it. I'm like, you know what? Huh, I didn't even think about that. And so the conversation would shift a little bit and we would go down that road, and then we started doing that with pretty much everything, just seeing the different routes that you can take to get to the same conclusion.
Yeah,
So yes, definitely.
that's beautiful. Can you imagine if this was happening like in everyday normal relationships?
Right.
World would be a different
Much,
place, Garry.
much better.
I think every couple needs to have something like this, and learning to gain perspective and communication skills, and that's
Yep.
just beautiful. I know, actual listening too, right? Compassionate listening, when we're truly listening to hear what the other person is saying versus listening to respond.
Right.
And having the strength to say, yeah, there's more ways than just how I see things, and wanting sincerely to learn from the other person. That's just fantastic. We I am about to present next month to a regional, it's the Correctional Leaders Association regional conference. So multiple commissioners for Department of Corrections. And from your perspective, like, in what ways do you think the Choose Love program would impact the larger prison community? Like, what's one thing you might want to say to the other commissioners for Department of Corrections regarding this program?
I would tell them that the Choose Love program this is coming from the perspective of a 17-year veteran. I would tell them that the Choose Love program is something that is much needed. As I said, if I had these skills and this information back then, if someone had taught me this back then, if it could have been relayed to a lot of these guys back then, the state of the DOC right now could be possibly different. All those years ago, if we had access to this kind of information and this kind of knowing, this knowledge that you don't have to, because a lot of times prison dictates if A happens, then B has to happen. But that is not necessarily the case. And this is the mind frame that a lot of guys have. If A happens, I respond like B. But
Mhm.
there's C, D, E, F, so on and so forth. There's just so much more, so many other options that are available that guys don't understand or don't think that they have these options. All they know is this is the way it goes inside. It's what prison is called, it's commonly referred to as a chain gang, but this is how it goes inside the chain gang. And even though you're confined and you're locked down, incarcerated, you don't have to have the mentality of an incarcerated individual, of a chain gang lifestyle. You don't have to think like that, even though you're in that environment. And this is something that is big and something that they need to learn. You just because you're here doesn't mean you have to act like what this place dictates you act like. You can be different even though you're here in this environment. And that's a big thing. That is a big thing that they need to know. And not just for the people with blue and white stripes or whatever color your uniform is,
Mhm.
but on the other side as well, because I've spoken with a lot of staff members throughout the years, and a lot of them feel like because you all are hardened criminals, I have to present a certain facade to you all. And it's not necessarily the case. It doesn't have to be like that. So it works both ways.
Yeah, powerful words right there. And I think someone who broke that model of I need to present this way is Mr. Andrews. And we need to give a shout out to him too for being the staff mentor on this program, right? And just so giving genuinely from himself and wanting to see the success in this and wanting to see the impact made. So just let's give some gratitude to Andrew for sure as a staff mentor. And thinking about something you said, and it's something that's been said to Scarlett too in the past from those who are incarcerated, like, I didn't know I had a choice. I've only known hatred, anger, resentment my whole life.
Mhm.
For them, love may not have been a positive thing. Perhaps people who were meant to be loving them in their lives ended up hurting them and painful. So how do you think that is from the resident's perspective inside a facility, hearing about a program called Choose Love? What's either for some people, there might be a little need to step over a little obstacle there in their mind with the words choose love. How do you think that resonates with people?
Definitely. I remember seeing the flyer posted up here, before you all actually arrived on scene. Choose Love program. You could just hear it. Choose Love. I ain't trying to choose no love. I ain't trying to go to no Choose Love program. But once you all came and she conveyed her story and the information, you could just see looking around the room the mindset changing on a lot of these guys versus just seeing, oh, choose love. What is this? And because when you're in this kind of environment, when it's just anger, and aggression, love is not really something that you display. It's kind of put to the side when you get your little 15, 30-minute phone call with your family, or that's when you choose love.
Mhm.
After you hang up their phone, it's back to business. And so it was met with a little, I don't know about that. But once you all came and she made her presentation, you could see, oh, this is what this is about. And a lot of guys opened up to it.
Yeah, impactful. And that's what I was witnessing, watching through you all, hearing her story. And, I think oftentimes love is deemed as weak, right? Being loving, kind is weakness, when really it takes more strength to be able to pause in a situation and have a thoughtful response versus reactionary or angry. And we all know that below the surface of anger could be a multitude of different things. And there's a lot of hurt, right? People that are hurting others are hurt.
Right.
And, there's so much we can learn from that. And I know other conversations Scarlett's had and I've had with people is it comes down to the need for being seen and safe.
Hi, my name is Scarlett Lewis. I'm the founder of the Choose Love movement. I founded this organization following the murder of my 6-year-old son, Jesse, and 27 others at Sandy Hook Elementary School. I realized then that we must come together in order to solve the escalating issues of violence, substance abuse, and mental illness in our country and world. I created the Choose Love movement because, as humans, we are 99.9% genetically the same. We all need love, and we all also feel pain. We teach all ages how to choose love and grow through pain. It's pretty simple. Love feels good, and anger, hatred, and resentment feel bad. Hurt people hurt people. Even though we can't always choose what happens to us, we can always choose how we respond. Love is always the strongest response. 6-year-old Jesse stood up to the shooter and saved 9 of his classmates' lives before losing his own. We all have the capacity for that courage. Join the Choose Love movement today and be part of the solution by creating a safer, more peaceful, and loving world. Thank you.
Right. She's had conversations with past would have been school shooters, and that there was a plan in place, or someone who was a school shooter and would share stories about they would do things on a daily basis just to see if they were seen, and they never were. And the importance of seeing one another, right? Being human. And no matter who we are, no matter our ages, no matter our backgrounds, we are all the same in the need to love, be loved, and have those authentic connections. And there's so much power and grace and strength and transformation that can come through these connections, through seeing someone, through stopping. Now that you're doing, no, really, how are you doing? Instead of just the nod in the hallway that you shared. That's powerful. I imagine if the world was doing that. I think about even just in workplaces, right? Doesn't happen, right? And just what that can do for a whole culture, and then for one another and humankind, right? The world is, so many people struggle with various mental health things right now, and just we all have stuff, right? But imagine coming together in that human spirit and having the strength to choose love in those heroic moments, right? That heroic choice, that choice moment model, and utilizing the Choose Love formula. What a difference it can make. And one by one person at a time, we can make the world a better place. And you are certainly doing that for sure. What advice would you give to someone who might be considering taking the program? Maybe on the fence, or what is this Choose Love thing?
I would say that if you want to know more about yourself, if you want to find out things about yourself that you didn't necessarily know, traits, habits about yourself, about maybe your family members, if you would like to change your perspective on things, if you want to see things in a new light, if you want to see things in a more positive spin, then you should definitely sign up for the Choose Love program. If you want to see a different way of doing things, if you want to find out if there is actually more than one way to do things, is this just a guy talking? Is this just, somebody just saying what they're saying just because it's nice words? If you want to find out for yourself, then be sincere and become a part of the Choose Love program.
Oh, beautifully said. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's not easy, right? That self-reflection and going inward and learning more about ourselves. But wow, what an opportunity for growth. We talk about post-traumatic growth a lot in the program, and that's something that I definitely wanted us to talk about today, because going through trauma, hard times, there is that opportunity for us to grow. And what choice are we going to make in those moments? And being able to reflect and grow, that's a success there for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah. There's a quote I have hanging in my home here, and I keep it right outside in my hallway, right outside my bathroom door, so I see it on a daily basis. And it's by Jennifer Pasteloff. And it says, when I get to the end of my life and I ask one final, what have I done? Let my answer be, I have done love. And you are embodying that. You are living, breathing this, through stepping forward and not only facilitating, but really carrying this forward, sharing it with your family. What a gift to be able to share this with your loved ones and enriching those relationships too, and gaining those perspectives. And I cannot thank you enough. You said earlier, 17 years in, right? Yeah. And soon you'll be being released. So what's next for Garry?
That is the big question. That is the big question. I honestly didn't think that I would be where I am now. So, and I'm before I answer that, I would like to say that I'm very grateful to have this opportunity. Not everybody knows my story, but I was actually given a 40-year sentence. And after 15 long years of fighting, it was reduced. And so now I'm at the point now where, I'm coming home soon, really soon, within a matter of months. This is great. And I thank God for it. But with that being said, when I had this long, extensive sentence, my mindset was a little different. Even though I was still trying to be positive, I understood that I have an extensive amount of time to do. So I have to kind of be a certain way to kind of understand that when you're around a group of individuals that, for an analogy, if you are a zebra amongst a pack of lions, you are easily identified and targeted. So if you don't want to be a zebra, then I suggest you yourself become a lion or lion-like. And so my mind frame was a little different, even though it was still positive. There will be times where the lion would roar. And when I got this time cut, it was like, it was wonderful. And then the Choose Love program came to me, and it kind of really validated all those times where I was supposed to respond like B, but I chose D, E, or F. It really validated all that and really showed me that I did do the right thing, even though I was with all the lions. And, I didn't have to attack this zebra. I could just shoo him away and just, leave him alone altogether. I didn't have to respond a certain way. And I'm glad for that. But what's next for me, because I had all this time ahead of me, it wasn't really something that I was planning for at the time, because it just, I woke up, I tell people I woke up on a Friday and I had 25 more years to do. And at lunchtime, I got a call from my lawyer. And just like that, I had 2 years and change left. So it was a lot that just changed in an instant, literally in an instant. And so now my perspective on a lot of things has changed as well. And now, whereas my future was me getting out 60-something-year-old older gentleman, now I'm a 40-year-old young man. And so a lot of things have changed. So what's next for me is still, it's uncharted territory, and I'm kind of figuring it out as I go. I have a couple little way markers per se, couple little people, helping me out, helping me to figure this thing out, but I want to figure it out on my own.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big thing for me, because I've been incarcerated and I've been kind of had, I don't want to say my manhood, but had my man stripped away from me to where I was treated as a child or as a teenager, a subordinate. And now I get my man back, and now I'm my own man again. So now I want to make decisions for my help. And I understand that help is necessary a lot. And it's something it's a big thing for me, asking for help, receiving help. And that was part of the Choose Love program too, being grateful for help and knowing that, ask for forgiveness, being grateful for help, asking for forgiveness. It's okay to ask for help. This is a big lesson that I've learned. And when you do receive help, be grateful and express your gratitude honestly and wholly. So I'm sorry, I know I'm dragging this out.
Oh, not at all, Garry.
What's next for me? I would love to do public speaking. That's always been a big thing for me. One thing that I am going to do, this is happening. Years ago, when I was down, I was just seeing a lot of these younger guys, 18, 19, 20, early 20s, come in with boatloads of time. And to them, it's not a bad thing per se. It was like a status. Oh, I've got 30 years, or I've got 40 years, or I've got a life sentence. And I'm sitting back like, yo, y'all think that this is cool? Y'all think that this is, it's sad.
Yeah.
It's sad. And so my thing for me, a big mission of mine, a personal mission, is that I want to be a mentor. While I've been incarcerated, I've dealt with a lot of guys. I pulled a lot of these tough guys. I've taken them under my wing and I've talked to them and helped them to see things and choose love. Um, and so it's this program kind of really just fit right with what I was already doing and who I already was as an individual. So I'm thankful that you all provided me with more tools so that I can better help other people. But I'm definitely going to be a big brother, a mentor to young kids. That's something I'm going to make happen.
And that's just so impactful. What a gift to them. It's clear to me through being down there with you and hearing you and seeing you with the participants. You are a born mentor and you have a lot to share with them, and the impact that can create for their lives forward is huge. So thank you for that. And there's something when we're in that unknown space, I'm not sure what the future holds, right? But using the formula and learning that pause, we know we're going to be okay. No matter this unknown,
Right.
in some ways that can be exciting because it's like, okay, where's life's going to take me? What's unfolding behind the scenes that I can't even see right now? And just feeling safe in that unknown in itself is a huge accomplishment, right? That can be a scary place, right? But feeling safe and trusting and knowing your abilities and your skills and what you can bring forward, that is tremendous. And so I'm excited for you. And not only for you, I'm excited for the lives that you'll touch. Yeah. And the impact that you can make on those lives, those younger lives, they need to hear it. And if anybody's listening or watching, I can personally attest that he is a tremendous speaker because I did hear him speak at the celebration event. And yeah, we'll stand by that for sure. It's just, I've said it there when I spoke to that this is just the beginning, right? You all have learned this now, but it's a daily practice, and it's just the very start, and beautiful things can come from this. But we can also thank goodness we know this now because it can reduce suffering within ourselves. What a struggle to be angry or, not having these coping mechanisms, not being able to see different perspective. I feel sad for people that aren't able to. And, there's so much possibility ahead. And that's one of the great things that I get to witness happen through you all's eyes when I'm present in these. And it's just, I feel very honored to be able to witness that and to be a small piece of this entire project. And just, I cannot thank you enough, Garry. And I have a feeling we're going to hear from you again.
Definitely.
And I look forward to that. Choose Love Ambassador. Is there anything you want to share before we close for today, Garry? Is there anything else that's on your mind or one last tidbit you want to get out there?
I actually have a question for you, ma'am.
Sure.
You are the programs director for Choose Love Department of Corrections. I understand that you and Miss Shannon, no, I'm sorry, you and Miss Scarlett.
Yeah, people do it all the time. It's a
I
compliment
understand that.
to me.
Right. I understand that you all are relatively close. out of all the programs that you could have attached yourself to, out of all the programs that you could have kind of taken up the mantle for and went to battle for, why choose love?
Why choose love? Great
Yes.
question. So my other hat, Garry, is I provide post-trauma therapy. And I've been providing post-trauma therapy in Newtown, Sandy Hook, Connecticut since just a few weeks after the tragedy. So now over 11 years. I actually was just down there in June, bookends, the weekend before and the weekend after the high school graduation, because that class just graduated, Jesse's class. So, and actually they've asked me to stay on another year because now those kids are going off to college. And I don't know how this is going to impact them away from home, away from people that understand, right, what they went through. So I'll continue. But I first met Scarlett just a few weeks after. She came trusting the process. She would lay on my treatment table and share with me about her vision for her organization, that was built off of Jesse's chalkboard message that she found soon after the tragedy of nurturing, healing love. This is how the whole program was born. And she would share with me about her vision. And for me, the most important hat I will ever wear is I'm a mom. And this simply started because I wanted this in my son's school. You can bet I wanted this as my son's school. I've now seen the other side of this. I've seen what can happen to a community going through an unimaginable, horrific tragedy. No way did I want anything like that happening here in my state. So I was simply a mom wanting to bring this to my son's school. But I guess go big or go home, Garry. I was able to connect with our governor and first lady, Chris and Valerie Sununu, Governor Sununu and Val, and share with them about the program. And it was right around the time that our school safety preparedness task force was writing our school safety report. The governor charged them with getting this done, right? That was on the heels of Parkland. And, the governor said, look, if we cannot put our children on a school bus and know that they're going to be safe at the end of the day, nothing else is more important. And so back in July 2018, the school safety preparedness report was released. And he did a beautiful job highlighting the need for Choose Love and social emotional learning, in essence, as the backbone for proactive preventative strategies, right? Like disrupting that pathway to violence, disrupting a grievance from happening in the first place, or if one does happen, providing skills and tools to de-escalate, to pause, right? And so that was July 2018. 6 months later, the federal commission report came out, school safety. First chapter echoed New Hampshire's report and talked about the need for social emotional learning and mentions Choose Love. So I'm then on a college tour with my son one day and my phone rings and it was the governor. and my son's like, what? I'm like, and he said, Shannon, I would love to meet with you. Will you come sit down with me? And he talk about courageous leader, not afraid to think outside the box and just do what is right. And we became, because of him, the first state in the nation to make Choose Love a statewide initiative. And so he asked me to take this on and be that person to support and serve the state for all things Choose Love. And absolutely, 1000%, I said yes. To still help people post-trauma, but now to put so much time and energy into a solution to prevent such suffering.
Right.
Absolutely. So that's how it started. And because I reported directly to him, I worked right out of his office for 5 years. He's not running again. So they've moved my position over to Health and Human Services Behavioral Health Division so that this position can sustain and we continue to support the state because remarkable things are happening. One of which is Choose Love for Corrections. It's because of my position here and working with my DOC that we were able to create this. And now that we can share this out to other states and to touch more lives. So absolutely 1000%, I stand behind Choose Love because it's essential life skills that we all need. And it's not just a program from this time to this time, it's Choose Love. It's really just, as we've shared in this conversation together today, it becomes our way of life. And if we are truly approaching this with fidelity for what Choose Love offers, it has this beautiful impact to really transform ourselves and to give us the courage to self-reflect and see where can we improve. And, from the state standpoint, as a proactive preventative safety measure, I'm now part of our school safety task force. I have been since he had that included in our school safety report. And it's proactive prevention, and we need to be proactive preventative in life. Enough of these tragedies and going back and the Band-Aid approaches, because lives are never the same again. And we need to be proactive and preventative. And the beauty of this particular program and what you're sharing with us today and the ripple effect that you have sharing that with other lives is just the impact that this truly can make, and changing the steps forward, affecting our pathway forward, affecting how we're approaching adversities and challenges and problems or conflicts, not giving up, helping our resilience and seeing the opportunity of that post-traumatic growth, having those moments of pause, and thoughtful responses versus reactionary. And we're all human. We're going to make missteps. We're going to have bad days. We're going to need to remind ourselves. We're going to need to hold up that bracelet and, oh yeah, come back to this formula, right? But welcome to being human. But what a beautiful opportunity to witness this, but also to live it myself. And it's a journey, I think, that can touch, boy, what a different world it would be if it would touch more people and more people, right? In all ages, the entire lifespan. And so that's how I've come to be here with Choose Love. And that's why I pour my heart into this. And this particular program could not be a success without people like you stepping forward and saying, yes, Garry. So I truly, truly thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. So just to put it this way, you began your journey as a post-traumatic growth professional, expert, I'll say. And then you became you take a proactive approach with the Choose Love program. So in essence, you're burning the candle on both ends. Well, Miss Shannon, I pray that your candle never goes out and you continue to shine and shed your light everywhere you go.
Thank you so much, Garry.
Thank
you. That touched me. Thank you. And same to you. You are that shining light. I witnessed that down in Miami, and I'm excited for what the future holds for you and for the lives you're going to touch. And I look forward to our next conversation, because this is just the beginning.
Definitely.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
All right. Thanks for listening in, everybody. And we look forward to our next conversation.
Choose love.
Choose love.
Hey, hey, oh. It's all part of us. We can all choose love. It'll lift you up if you let it in. Let the heat